Welcome to Castles to Cauldrons, where every journey starts with a little bit of magic.
Well, welcome to episode 13 of Castles to Cauldrons. We just want to start this episode with a little somber note. We were just thinking about everybody out west. We just talked about Disneyland and Universal a few weeks ago and how much we enjoyed out there and how beautiful that area is. And with all the devastation happening with the wildfires, it's just breaking people's hearts. And we just want everybody to know that we're thinking about you. We're praying for you. We wish we could be there to help you. Just know that you're in our hearts during this hard time. But hopefully we can give you some entertainment for the next 45 minutes to an hour to keep your mind off things. And to help to do that, I have Terry, Micah, and Rachel. And our guest today is the founder of Magical Travel, Miss Denise Hafto. Would you like to say a few things about yourself and maybe some history of Magical Travel?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Just want to say hello first. I've been in the travel industry for 27 years and have owned my own business for the past 24 years. Have grown, to be about 100 agents in the past 24 years. So that's not a large amount. I still consider myself a smaller agency, more of a boutique agency. We have grown from just doing Disney to doing many, many destinations. And we have a great team of agents. Our veterans are always willing to help. We have great newer agents that have a lot of energy and are willing to put themselves out there and learn and get you booked on your next vacation. I've lived in and around Philadelphia all my life, as you could tell from my dialect.
We have Denise on this week because we're going to talk about European river cruises, and none of us have been on them, so this is going to be a great introduction to river cruises for us, and let us ask some questions to her and let her show her expertise on this side. So first off, what is a river cruise?
So I would consider a river cruise a much more smaller ship than the ocean liner. It will take you through picturesque towns and historical sites and great little ports of call that you can't get to with a large cruise ship. So it is about the ports of call and what you're passing. Great little towns. And I have to tell you, some of those towns in Europe are just so quaint. You get to see history pass right before your eyes. And you'll see castles and different things like that you really can't see here. And you can't really see any other place than by going, maybe by land and going by bus from place to place. So, I would just say that really is the way you travel to these little towns, that makes the difference. That's what the river cruising is. And it's on a smaller ship. So your ship could be about 400 feet long on a river cruise versus 1,100 feet long, say for the Wish or the Treasure, 30 feet wide. Versus, over a couple hundred feet wide for a regular cruise. So the size of the ship and where it takes you really are the distinguishing factors for a river cruise.
How many people are typically on a river cruise?
Anywhere from about 100 to 150. It depends on the supplier, depends on the cruise ship company, and also where they're sailing. Like if you go to Portugal, that cruise ship is going to be smaller because the river's smaller. If you're going to go to Asia, those ships are also smaller. Whereas on the Danube or the Rhine, you could get bigger ships. So anywhere from 100 to 150 guests.
A tenth of the size of like an ocean liner, like when you're on a big cruise.
So
yes.
For reference, the Disney Wish has 4,000 passengers.
Yeah.
That's nuts to think about.
It's like a mini city.
Yeah. When you do the big cruise lines versus these little river cruises, which just shows the difference in size of those ships, because you can get into those smaller places where you can actually experience these little towns in Europe where you can't really do that on a cruise. Like you're just in you're in port cities.
Right, exactly. And then you get off. You stop wherever the itinerary will take you. So for instance, Cologne, Germany on the Rhine, you'll stop there for the day. And you get out and you can do a tour with the cruise line. And that's the other thing with the river cruise lines is that you have your choice of doing something that is laid back, like just walking through the town, or doing something a little bit more active, like hiking or biking through these towns. But that is included with the price of your cruise fare, are the excursions. So, and you could take as many, if they're offering 2 or 3 throughout the day, you can take as many as you can that don't overlap in time. Sometimes they do have additional excursions that you would pay for. Like in the evening, one time we did on the Danube in Vienna, we did a symphony, and that was during Christmas time. So, that we paid for. But there are many, many things that you could do that you don't have to pay for.
But that kind of makes it worth that price. Like when we talk about pricing for it, if it's including excursions, because that's not something in addition you're having to budget for like you do if you're going on Disney or Royal Caribbean or Carnival.
Right. You will have a guide from the ship with your group, and you'll have a local guide. So you're usually broken up into 3 or 4 different groups, depends how many people are on the ship, for the same excursion. So it's actually broken down. So you're going to have 20 to 25 people on those excursions. You'll have your own guide from the ship and then a local guide as well.
When we're talking about the cruises themselves, how many suppliers are out there, or like what are the big name suppliers that people usually go toward?
So you have AMA Waterways, which is also affiliated with Adventures by Disney. So AMA has its own brand, and then they also brand with Adventures by Disney, whereas Adventures by Disney will utilize the whole ship. So they'll sell out that whole ship as Adventures by Disney, and they bring on additional guides. So you have that added luxury of having more people on there to help you and guide you through the areas that they're sailing through, that can, tell you about what's going on, or the architect, or whatever's going on. They have a lot more guides, and they really make or break those cruises. There's Avalon Waterways, there's Viking, there's Emerald. There's a couple other, Talc has another one. There are, of course, there's not as many river cruise suppliers as there are ocean cruise suppliers, but there are some good ones out there. And they can range from, a standard type of cruise to luxury.
Out of those suppliers, which is your favorite to cruise with?
Well, I've done AMA and I've done Avalon, and they're comparable. I'd like to get on a Viking and do a few others, but right now I really like Avalon. I like where it goes. I like how many nights it goes for the cruise. I like the staff. There's just nothing I really don't like about it.
Can you explain the differences with the staterooms compared to an ocean liner? Are there any differences?
I was thinking about that question, and the rooms, they're just laid out a little bit differently. Where Avalon, you have the bed facing the water, facing the window, the sliding glass doors. There are some ships that don't have that have it. The bed is facing, a wall. There are rooms that just have 2 windows up above. There's no sliding glass door. So you do have some standard rooms. You have rooms that have Juliet balconies, and then you have rooms that have a Juliet plus a balcony for you to walk out on. So it really depends on the cruise line. And I would say, for the most part, the rooms are probably a little bit smaller than on an ocean cruise. But you do have that, most of the rooms would either have a balcony or have a Juliet balcony. So you can kind of open that up and feel a little bit more open in that respect.
You mentioned that you like the Avalon cruise the best because of the stops. We all know anywhere in Europe to stop is a good stop. Don't get me wrong, but what makes the Avalon cruise, in your opinion, better as far as the stops and excursions go?
Well, it also depends too on the itinerary. So every time I looked up an itinerary I wanted to do, they have more or less satisfied what I wanted to do. So, but that's not to say that you can't get those same types of stops with the other cruise lines. They might just have a 5-nighter, whereas Avalon would have it for 7 nights. I don't think it's good. It's worth it to go just for 5 nights. I want to go for 7 nights or more, preferably 10, 11 nights. And you can find those with other cruise lines as well. It really just depends also on the time of year. Like the Christmas cruises will begin probably about mid-November through about mid-December. And they're considered Christmas because of the Christmas markets, not because it takes you over Christmas. And so sometimes the cruise lines will start later and end sooner type of thing. So you might be able to get, what you want on a date that you can't get with another cruise line.
When you're doing these ports or the cities, what's the time frame like? I know with the traditional cruise lines, you have a pretty early return to the ship time. Do you get longer times?
That happens too. It depends because they sail overnight. There are itineraries where you will stay overnight in a particular port on the river cruise, but mainly they sail at nighttime. That will get you through to the next port by morning. And then, so yeah, it could be 4 or 5 o'clock. Sometimes it's 9, 10 o'clock at night. So you still have time to go out and experience the city a little bit more in the evening. Sometimes it's 11. It really, really depends. So if you're looking for a little bit more nightlife in the towns that you're visiting, you really need to look at that itinerary.
I just pulled up a map of the Danube because I feel like the last time I looked at it was in high school. I didn't realize that there were so many cities on this river. I knew it went through Europe, but I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know if you can see my phone, but
yeah,
that's a lot of nice cities.
So
great destinations.
Right, and you can go northbound to southbound or southbound to northbound. So they do go back and forth.
Didn't you just do the lower Danube?
I just did. Mm-hmm. The countries were Romania, Serbia, Croatia.
And you also did an upper Danube, like a couple years ago?
I've done it a couple times, yeah.
What countries are those?
Hungary, you'll do Austria, Germany.
When people think of cruises, they think of like water slides and kids clubs and movie theaters and Broadway shows. So what is there for activity wise and entertainment on a river cruise?
Most river cruises do not have a pool. There'll be a hot tub. And believe me, I've seen people out there in the middle of winter in the hot tub. There is local entertainment that is brought on the ship. It could be just a couple times during your cruise. There is a cruise director that will get games together in the evening. There's music, but it is not like you would have on an ocean cruise. And that's why really I don't feel it's meant for children, although Ahmed will let you bring on children, I think as maybe as young as 4 or 5 years old. There's really nothing for them to do. So some of them have very small gyms too, just like the size of a stateroom, maybe even smaller as far as the gym goes. There's really no place to have spa treatments, although they may have a masseuse. I think if you might have to request that, have a masseuse on board that would probably jump on during your visit to certain towns. It really is about the ports of call. You're not going to find a lot of entertainment on a ship like that.
So it's more for transportation mode, like a mode of transportation rather than the experience on board.
No, I like the experience on board because, see, I'm a little bit more laid back. The food, the staff, being on the river itself is, to me, worth that experience. I don't need to be entertained constantly like that. I don't need that. You get to meet other people from all around the world. You have conversations, to me, and that's why I think it's probably best for people maybe as young as 40, more over 50-ish, I feel. I think it's just a different type of consumer.
So it's like a luxury relaxation kind of vacation, not
Yes.
Let's pound the pavement, let's go do as much as we can pack into a vacation.
Right. Although there'll be someone who is like an active tour guide. If you want to hike when you get into those towns, you can do that. If you want to bike ride, you can do that. So there's early morning yoga you can do. So you can do that, but it's just a different pace.
from the sounds of it, it's like versus being in a big cruise where you're sitting with 6 people. In my case, with me and Bethany going on a big cruise, 4 people we've never met. Those are the 4 people we kind of get to know throughout the cruise. But on a ship this size, you might get to know half the people cruising with you, and it
Yes.
adds a little bit more to it. So you can create a friendship that you can connect with somebody that, like you said, lives in a different country.
Absolutely. We've met some great people. We still keep in touch with people. Now, dining is open. So, and there's one dining room. Dining is open. You could sit wherever you like. So if you want to join a group of people one night, you can do that. If you want to sit by yourselves one night, you can do that. So, dining is a little bit different. And usually breakfast is a buffet, lunch is usually buffet, and then dinner is you're waited on. You'll be seated. They do have light fare up in the lounge area. So if you don't want to go to a full service dinner, you certainly can go to something lighter. On nice days, they'll do a barbecue outside and up on top of the deck, and you'll eat outside and have barbecue. So,
As like pulled pork barbecue, or is that like European barbecue type stuff?
no, they have pulled pork. They'll have burgers, hot dogs, that type of thing. So,
Do the dinners, since you say there's like one entree at night, do they reflect like the ports of call that you're at? Do they use food and dishes from those areas or inspired by those areas?
they do not the whole meal, but there will be
Yeah.
portions of the meal. Could be just a dessert, or Germany, it'd be schnitzel, that type of thing.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. And I think too, just for the mere fact that they are in Europe, you are going to have more European food. It's just that when you do get into those ports of call, you will have the flavor of the area.
Do you enjoy the food more in a river cruise or like say a Disney or Royal Caribbean?
The river cruise.
You think that's because they don't have to make so much of it? So maybe it's a better quality style, everything.
Yes. I mean, think about it. Cooking for 3,000 people versus 150 people, there's a big difference there.
Do you have a menu you can pick from, like where they have like multiple appetizers to pick from or entrees and desserts and things like that?
Yes, absolutely. There is the menu for the evening, and you can view it online before you even get down to the dining room.
Is there room service?
There is. You can get room service. Yeah.
Is that included or is that an additional cost?
No, that's included. The other thing too are beer and wine, and they have a cocktail hour where their cocktails are, I think it's from 6 to 7 is cocktail hour every evening. So whatever they have on that list is free of charge. But otherwise, then you would have a bar tab. But beers and wines and regular mixed drinks are included.
So do they have like a drink package type thing you can get on river cruise? Okay.
No. So around from 6 to 7 is the cocktail hour up in the lounge, and then from like 6:45 to 7, so 15 minutes, they talk about what you're going to experience the next day. Cruise director comes on and announces not comes on, but stands in front of everybody, and they talk about where we're going, what you're going to do, that type of thing. And then 7 o'clock is dinner every night.
Now, on a traditional cruise, you see a lot of people drinking throughout the day. Is that the same on a river cruise? Is there is there always a bar open?
Yeah, you could get a drink at the bar.
I'm feeling it's not like I'm just going to use Carnival as an example, but it's not like a Carnival or Margaritaville cruise where it's a booze cruise type thing. It's a very sophisticated, like you might be having a cocktail, but a lot of people are just taking it slow and easy and just relaxing, right?
Yeah, although I could say you could have a little bit rowdy bunch at the cocktail hour,
Well, I mean, when it's free,
Just because they're older doesn't mean they don't like to cut loose. I mean,
right. And then, of course, sodas, juice, water at the meals is included. Coffee. They do have a couple coffee stations on the ship where you can get cappuccinos, mochas, that type of thing. So that's all included.
I'm going to assume like when you're drinking a glass of wine or something like that, they try to keep it local to like where you're going through. They keep a lot of stuff on hand, but they want to keep it local stuff.
They, I think, what to call it, not top shelf. So I don't know.
House.
Yeah, house. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the Kirkland brand of whatever country you're in.
The Costco brand wine.
What's your favorite local kind of dish or drink that you've had on any of your cruises that you enjoyed the most?
I have to say, they do pork is used a lot in Europe, and I have to say a pork dish.
Mm-hmm.
They have some great pork dishes, and then schnitzel is always good. Desserts are really fabulous on there. I normally don't order chicken.
Yeah,
So,
I don't either.
because I can get chicken at home. Steak is really good. So if you, and their cuts of steak are different than what they are here. So say you don't want anything on the menu, they will cook a steak for you. They'll do steak, chicken, or salmon. So
that's
you can
nice.
get something, yeah, you can get something on a lighter fare. So
And they're like good for allergies, right?
they are, yeah.
So like someone's gluten free or, peanut allergy, they're able to accommodate.
They are. Plus, that information is also at the bottom of the menus.
Oh, just based on like we're talking about dining, I was thinking at the bottom of the menu, I went to like gratuities. How do like the gratuities work for a river cruise?
The gratuities, you can prepay them, and again, you could also add to it. So I would say it's probably about $20 per couple per night for gratuities. And then you can add additional money in there if you want in the envelopes.
That's not bad.
That's,
No,
that's
it's
not
not
bad
too
at
bad.
all.
Going back on the food a little bit, since I'm a fat guy and I like food.
But everyone loves food.
The level of food, I guess it's going to be more of a higher class meal since you have 150 people on the ship and they can really make it look nice and present it well.
It is presented well. And of course, sometimes the portions are not very big because they don't eat the way we eat here. But you can always get a second if that's something that you want. You can get 2 entrees of something if you want as well. And if you say, only bring me the meat from that dish, they're going to still bring you the whole dish.
So portion sizes for a Disney fan would probably be more like a Victoria and Albert's type portion.
No. No. Victoria and Albert, you barely get anything. But,
Okay, so you get more than that, but you don't get
it's
like.
somewhere in between. Yes.
Okay.
So Avalon, their dining says farm to fork fare. I think it's fresh. I feel that it's a lot fresher than a ocean cruise. They have, so for starters, of course, they always have bread and a dip. There's always some type of bread, local bread and a dip, or you could use butter. But so for starters, you have a melon cocktail or vineyard snails, spinach and orange salad. You could do soup, which is a Swiss barley soup or a smooth pumpkin soup. So this must be a fall. Pasta and prosciutto. So main courses would be pasta and prosciutto with ham, seared fillet of halibut. I'm not going to read the sides. Pan-fried veal loin, fried oyster mushroom. And then it says the alternative choices would be chicken breast, grilled beef tenderloin, grilled salmon, and then the side dish of the day. And then the endings, which are the desserts, Swiss chocolate lava cake, vanilla ice cream, fruit salad with lemon mascarpone granola. And they have cheeses and fruits as well. So
Just bring me the
sounds
Swiss
good.
chocolate lava cake for.
I know. I was gonna say,
every
put
part
some
of it.
vanilla ice cream on the side.
Yeah.
So good.
That and the cheese. That's all I want. The chocolate and the
No.
cheese.
I'll just take all the chocolate.
So, and their legend at the bottom, it's going to tell you if there's eggs, peanuts, fish, gluten, crustaceans, let's see, milk products. So,
They have everybody covered then. So if you're vegan or
yeah, they
anything,
do. Soy.
I don't know if Jason could put this in someplace else, but I kind of wanted you to talk about how you had to cross over another ship at the port.
There are times when you get into port and there's going to be another ship already there at that particular port in that particular spot, and they pull up next to it. So you have to get off. You have to go through the other ship to get off and then to get back on. Sometimes that other ship is gone by the time you get back and you can just get onto your ship. But you kind of have to be flexible with that. That's why I don't feel it's good if you have somewhat of a hard time walking because of the way that the getting on and off is with these ships. And then, of course, being in Europe, things are difficult as it is with cobblestones and the way the streets are, and they don't have to have the same rules and laws that we do here for people that are disabled. So, but there are elevators on the ship. So, but I don't think I've ever really seen a handicap accessible room. I don't think the elevator is really, if you're in a wheelchair, it's just if you just can't climb the steps very well. But with that said, there are times where the rivers are too low or they're too high. So the water level. So what happens at that point, and another reason why I like the Avalon ships and the Alma ships and Viking is the same way, is that what'll happen is if you're on the Danube and the water level as say getting into Germany is too low, they're going to bring you to a point on the river where you're going to get off that ship and they'll bring your bags. You have to pack back up, get off that ship, go by bus to meet your new ship that is further down the line so that you can continue down the river. So because the ship that you were on can't pass the river. And that does happen. I've been on a couple cruises that way. And then you get back on the ship, the same staff follows you. So you go from the one ship, your ship, to your new ship. You're going to have the same stateroom number. And of course, all the same staff is with you as well. There might be a few people that don't come along with that, and then you unpack and you get to continue on your path down the river, up the river. The other thing we were supposed to start in Budapest, and we ended up having to be bused to Austria, and get on our ship there. So you really have to be flexible and kind of go with the flow because you can't and they can't control the water levels of the cruise, of the river cruise. So,
well, while we're talking about water, how is it at night? Like during, when you're on a river cruise or a ocean cruise, it can kind of get rough and you have rocking and everything like that. Is it similar to that if you have a rough river, quote unquote, or
such thing? It's you don't feel any of that. You really don't. They really take care in how they maneuver the ship. But I have to tell you, the waters are not that rough. You'll have an easy time of it. When I go on an ocean cruise, I use C-bands and take Dramamine. And of course, I don't have to do that there. You will experience going through locks through these countries because of the water levels. You have to go into a lock, the water rises, you go out the other end. So they're very interesting. Sometimes you have 20 locks, sometimes you have 2 locks, which is that could be a form of entertainment in itself. So I do want to talk about the cruises. They have specialty cruises. So there could be cuisine cruise or a wine and vineyards cruise, Christmas time cruise. There's a tulip time cruise. So, you're going to experience those specialty cruises a lot more than, say, I guess a Marvel Day at Sea. I don't know. So
my bucket list is to do one of the Christmas market cruises because that just looks, I love Christmas, and seeing these Christmas markets in Europe just looks so fun to get to walk around and experience that, and then get to go experience those like at each place, and then at night you move to a new city and can experience that Christmas market. That just to me sounds amazing.
It is amazing to see how the different countries celebrate Christmas. I have to tell you, this past year I saw a lot of Facebook groups that are for the Christmas cruises, and they all said that they were very crowded this year. So probably the earlier the better. Like if you can get there maybe more towards the end of November might be better than in December. And then whenever you go, you really have to dress warm, because you just don't know what type of weather you're going to have. It could be rain, snow, wind, and long coat and boots, hat and gloves, scarf definitely is something that you want to bring with you. And then, if you see something at one Christmas market, you might as well buy it no matter what the cost, because you may not see it again. If you really like it, I suggest that you buy it. But I can normally get like really nice hats made in Germany and Poland there for like $7 a piece, $8 a piece. So
Oh, wow.
there are certain things that when I know what I'm looking for and what I want when I go there. So they're the types of things that I get.
When it comes to dress, are there theme nights on the ship itself? Like, is there like a formal night or anything like that? And would you?
There is one night if you want to, but
Okay, it's not a
really
required type thing.
no, it's not. It's very casual, actually.
Do they have a dress code for the dining room?
Well, I guess just like any other cruise ship, as long as you don't have cutoffs and, but otherwise,
See, we just always come back to the food. I mean, what do we need to wear when we go eat?
yeah.
We don't care about the Christmas markets. We want to know what we need.
Yes,
No,
we
but
do.
the
Yeah,
amount
we
of
do care for the
food that you
Christmas
can get at
markets.
those Christmas markets, like the different types of food, and then what is the hot wine that they have, or like the hot like
Yeah, mulled wine. Yes,
yeah,
that-
people like they have different ones in different countries. There's actually I just watched like a whole like YouTube video of this couple that travels, and they did a Christmas cruise, and like they were like comparing like which ones had the best mulled wine in like each place and like the food, and it just, I mean, like I said, it looked really, really fun and nice. And they're like my age, like in their mid 30s, and they had a blast and they loved it. They took their parents on the cruise with them, and their parents had a great time. But that's why I'm like, I know you said like 40s, 50s age wise, but like me being in my mid 30s, like this is still talking to me too. Like I feel like I would have a great time even being in my mid 30s to go do something like this.
And so then it would depend on your interest. So you're saying that those things that you want to visit interest you versus being, say, on a ocean cruise, where if you're going to go to the beach or do an excursion such as snorkeling, something like that, it really depends on your interests. So then that's right up your alley then, a river cruise. The ship is decorated at Christmas time too. There's the trees and just beautiful decorations. So it really sets the tone for the whole trip.
Which one of the, I guess, themed, for lack of a better word, cruises have you done when you're talking about like the Christmas cruise and all the country wine type stuff? Have you done everyone that's available, or?
No, I have done of course, the Christmas cruises. I have done but I didn't partake in tasting of the wine because I don't drink, but they do, I visit some of the vineyards and the wineries because that also interests me, how it's made, how that's done, and how it's grown. So certainly you could do that. And I've done that. The tulip one for Amsterdam, being in the Netherlands, I would love to do that. That's probably going to be one of my next ones. But I am doing one in Portugal in May on the Porto River, and that is a wine and vineyard cruise. But of course, I'm not going to partake in the wine. But of course, I'll definitely do the excursions.
I can imagine that the vineyards just themselves, like my Bethany's uncle has a small vineyard right now, but it's at his house, so it's nothing elaborate. I think it's only like 10 acres. But going out there and seeing these hundreds of acres of vineyards with old buildings on it, and how they
and the history you could
styles,
probably learn, like how long they've been in the families and stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
And older than America.
Yeah, really.
What's been your favorite cruise that you've ever done for the river cruises?
I'd have to say I think this last one that I did, we did the Lower Danube through Romania, Serbia, Croatia. I really enjoyed that. It was in October, and we met some great people. And, it was who we were traveling with. We didn't set out to go on there with them, but we met great people and we had a great time with those people. So I'd have to say that. And then seeing countries I haven't seen before. So, and again, you know, there's something that I like about each of the cruises. Of course, the Christmas cruises, that will always be one of my favorites. But when we leave from Budapest, Hungary, that's one of my favorite cities in Europe. So going there, whether I leave from there or end up there, we always spend a couple extra days there and have a beautiful time there. So
is there a river that you that's available that you haven't done that you would like to do?
The River Seine in France. I'm going to do that eventually. So that's something that I'm going to look into after my next river cruise in Portugal in May. And when you take a river cruise, much like an ocean cruise, they're going to give you something off on your next cruise that you book. So sometimes it's $250 a person, $500 a couple type of thing. So you can apply that to your next cruise. And sometimes they'll say, if you book it within 2 weeks of this cruise that you're getting off of, they'll give you an additional $150 off. So they're going to offer you something.
You kept mentioning couples. Is it only doubles? Or like the rooms, yes. There's no quads?
No, just doubles. The beds could be together or separated. So you'd have two twins or the queen. There's just 2 suites on the ship. They hold 3. So, and they're a little bit bigger, but there's only 2 of those.
Do they have connecting staterooms? Like if you are traveling with someone? No.
Mm-mm.
So they do make it more like geared towards adults and couples, because if the rooms are mostly just doubles, then you're not really having space to bring your kid to like stay with you.
The newer ships I have to look. I think maybe one of the newest on the ships might have, but I don't think I've ever seen connecting rooms. You know, and there's usually just 3 decks. The lowest deck, you're going to just have rooms with 2 upper windows, and then the upper 2 decks would have the outside. Now, outside, of course, with a Juliet balcony or a regular balcony, but there are no inside staterooms.
I know you were talking about, like, you said a little bit about price, like around, I know you said like $5,000 per person. What is like kind of that range? Like if people are wondering, like per person or per stateroom, if it's 2 people.
So, you know, sometimes you can get some really good deals where you get $1,000 off a couple, or free air, or $500 air per person. They'll include the air with that. You know, I'm going to send anywhere from like $3,000 a person to $5,000 a person. Depends on how many nights and how many nights, and then which rivers and what time of year. There are times of the year where, you know, you have better pricing than other times. But I have to tell you, because of course the ships are small, there are certain times of the year where the availability is just going so quickly. And like right now, probably most of the Christmas cruises for 2025 are booked.
So you would suggest to book pretty far right away.
Yes, if you know you're going to go, you should book right away, as soon as you know that you definitely want to go. Lots of times the deposits are non-refundable. If you have to cancel, that deposit will stay with you, but you have to use it for something else. So if it's a $500 deposit, $250 per person, it is non-refundable. So, and then the balance is normally due, 90 days ahead of time. So,
and really, when you're talking about that price per person and you're saying, beer, wine, some drinks are included, excursions are included, tour guides that are coming on the ship to tell you things, it's really a great deal. And you're getting better food than when you're going on a regular cruise. It's really not that bad of a price difference when you're looking at doing something like Icon of the Seas, like with Royal Caribbean, like what that price can be per person or for a stateroom. And you're getting to see historical places, learn, like if that's what you want to do, like learn about these things, like really pricing wise, like I'm surprised that's what the price is. Like I honestly thought it was going to be more than that for everything that you get on one of those cruises.
I would say, during peak times, it could be anywhere from 5 to 7,000 a person. But, if that's something that you want to do and you can only sail those times or that time of year, then, it is what it is. But also then the airfare is going to be high. So, you kind of have to take good with the bad, but you can find some good deals out there. You just have to look and be flexible, just like with a river cruise. If you're looking for good pricing, the best pricing, you have to be able to go on an off season or shoulder season. So it's my favorite way to travel.
That's
Maybe
really
this
not a
will be
bad
my-
price. Okay.
I was gonna say maybe this will be my goal for my 40th birthday is to do a river cruise for my birthday. I still got 5 years for that, but it can be a
Okay.
big goal.
Oh,
Save, you can save for that. So
I was just saying it's not a bad price for the amount of countries you see, and like nothing against the Caribbean or anything, but I don't feel like you are very cultured going on a Caribbean cruise, even though you stop at different ports of call in different countries. You really don't get a lot from their life, But I feel like here, like you said, you mentioned Romania and Slovenia, lots of places, and you're just like, and I mean, I think the other thing is, I don't think people see those as destinations until you see someone's pictures and and you're like, oh, I'm just, like you said, the old castles and things like that.
Yeah.
And for
Yeah.
$5,000 a person to see multiple countries, the history that we just don't have here in America, and it's a deeper feeling with the culture. I think that's not a bad price at all
yeah.
for everything you're getting.
Barring from the river being low or too high, you unpack once and you get to visit all these places versus being on a bus and having to you have your luggage be towed from one place to the next and pack and unpack type of thing. So unless there is a problem with the river, the levels, then it's pretty easy sailing.
What would you recommend to be like a first time river cruise or cruise to be?
Either the Rhine River or the Danube. They're the two popular.
How easy is it for somebody who doesn't speak foreign languages to communicate? Like, is it accessible that way?
Yeah, Google Translate. I'm serious. I
I feel
visit
stupid
family.
for that one now.
No. Listen, most people in those areas now speak English. You'll always find people that speak English. And then, but Google Translate, I use it all the time when I'm in Europe. I can leave on the audio and see what someone's saying, and it translates for me what they're saying. So definitely Google Translate is the way to go. I do suggest getting some money in each of the country's currencies. This way you have some money for local tipping or coffee or desserts, things like that. The guides that come on with you and your bus drivers, we give a couple dollars each time. Every day we give them each a couple dollars. So because they don't come on with you onto the ship, they take you and host you in the city and then drop you back off at your ship. So we do tip them.
When you're stopping in the cities, what's one thing that you would recommend somebody doing in each city that might not necessarily be on the itinerary, but like just to do?
Would be to have local cuisine too, like to have a lunch or pick up some type of local food. And you can bring things back on the ship with you. Like we brought snacks and local snacks on with us, and pretzels from Germany, or cakes, things like that. So I suggest stopping, getting a coffee.
I bet their coffee is so much better than our coffee.
So good. It's so good.
I don't like coffee.
She's a coffee drinker and a little coffee snob. So
Oh, me?
yeah, you.
Yeah.
And they do more, like, this is probably not going to make the podcast, but I'm sure it's more like hot coffees, like the little espressos versus like our like iced coffees and all those things that we do.
Oh, they have iced coffees. They have different specialty coffees too. And you can get espresso and cappuccinos. And on the ship, on Avalon, anyway, the top deck in the back is like a little solarium type of thing where you can play board games, but they also have a coffee bar right there, self-serve. So you can get coffee anytime. There's cookies and donuts and things like that you can snack on throughout the day too. So, but yeah, that's normally where I get my coffee in the morning because sometimes the coffee in the dining rooms aren't the greatest. So.
You haven't said a single thing that's made me not want to go on a river cruise. So this is just adding to the like me wanting to do this. Like Europe's like on my list. Like I really want to go see Europe. And I feel like this is a great way to do it because you can see multiple countries and experience the stuff without having to, ride trains or, do that type of stuff.
And then also you can add days on with the cruise line pre-stay and post-stay. Or you could do that on your own. And we always suggest at least coming in the day before.
This probably won't go on there, but what would be one negative that you would say? Because you just spoke so positively about everything. I'm just curious what your negative feedback would it be?
Or a con. Like I guess it doesn't have to be negative, but just like a con maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would be, if you have to pack back up and change ships.
I can see how that would be kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, you have to, or pick up the ship. Like we were supposed to start in Budapest, but we had to we went down to Vienna and got the ship there. So we had to be bussed down there. So, your cruise could depend on the level of the river. That would be one con.
Do they have river cruises like down the Nile? Like if you go to Egypt, do they have things like that?
They do. They do. And in the Mekong, I've briefly looked at those. So there's something called Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. It's STEP, STEP. And you let our government know where you're going to be. You give them all your details, where you're going to be in Europe. And then I would get different notices, different texts saying there's going to be a protest here, so stay out of the city center here. So they'll let you know what's going on in these countries while you're there.
Just so you can be aware and safe.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Denise, how can somebody get a hold of you if they want to book a European or Egyptian or any type of river cruise?
You can email me at Denise at Magical Travel, and that's DENISE at magicaltravel.com, or you can call the office at 610-446-2200 and ask for me.
So that's going to do it for us today on Castles to Cauldrons. Next episode is going to be our theme park draft. We're going to go through and pick out different attractions, shows, and whatnot, just to kind of have fun with that. If you want to get a hold of any of us, you can go to www.magicaltravel.com, and we would be glad to help you book your next Disney or Universal vacation or any other family vacation. And until next time, we'll see you later.